Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, the Hip Hop Lobbyist. Hold on, let me check one thing. Two things, actually, before we get there, because President Trump is about to go live. I did not expect, honestly, I did not expect for America to attack Venezuela last night. That was not in my cards for the weekend. Not at all. Not one bit. To be all the way fair and real with you, right? Because Trump has been the president that ends wars. And all of a sudden, out the blue, after they say Maduro met with China, they snatched the man up in the middle of the night. I didn't expect it. It's really eye-opening because I don't know what the fuck to expect. International law. Congress wasn't even included too. We'll find out. Trump will tell us today. More than anything, I hope you had a good New Year so far. It's our first stream of the New Year. It's a Saturday. I was debating on streaming New Year's and all the other stuff. I'm like, you know what? Damn, I didn't expect everything to move so fast. Project 2030, I think they're calling it. But either way, we're waiting on President Trump to go live. Appreciate y'all tapping in. What are your goals for 2026? Clearly, President Trump was setting the record straight. I'm going to start off today's stream by looking in my home state, the great state of Florida, where they are having some protests already around, well, celebrations, if anything, around Maduro's capture. Listen, they're not going to forget this in the primary elections. I'll tell you that now. They will not forget. But wait on President Trump to go live. That'll begin shortly, and when he starts, you know, we'll start loading things up. How's everybody's week been so far, man? How was your 2026 going today, this week? I know a lot of people didn't expect to wake up and hear a celebration. Check this.
It is 8 a.m. on the East Coast, and if you are just waking up this morning, we are following breaking news. President Trump announcing the capture of Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro overnight in a large-scale U.S. military operation.
Attorney General Pam Bondi confirming Maduro and his wife have been indicted in New York on drug and weapons charges. The couple, quote, will soon face the full wrath of American justice.
It comes after explosions rocked the capital of Caracas and surrounding states. Early this morning, President Trump is expected to hold a news conference from Mar-a-Lago at 11 a.m.
Lucas Tomlinson joins us now from West Palm Beach, Florida, where the commander-in-chief has been spending the holidays. Hey, Lucas, what more can you tell us this morning?
Good morning, Doc. For weeks, President Trump had pledged there would be strikes ashore in Venezuela, and that's exactly what happened in the pre-dawn hours, where the National Mission Force Special Operations Forces were launched, likely from the USS Iwo Jima offshore, after the Air Department, the jets and helicopters on board had been moved to Puerto Rico. Those forces, the strike force, assaulted Maduro's compound in the pre-dawn hours after those airstrikes from U.S. military aircraft took place in Caracas around 2 in the morning, Caracas time, 1 in the morning, East Coast time. And President Trump posting to troops announced last evening. It's not clear if those also took place. We also, as you can see in the video coming up, dozens of U.S.
They sent everybody at this motherfucker. Hold on. I see my audio just stopped. Let me fix that. My bad, y'all. I don't know how this happens on the Mac. Get back to it. My bad on that. I don't know how long it's been happening, but still don't have audio here? What is happening? Hold on, y'all. Technical difficulties. That's normally the fix.
Maduro has been looking out and seeing the most advanced flotilla in world history parked outside of his country. It's probably been a little bit nerve-wracking for him. But obviously, the operation, this operation was successful and is over. But I don't think that we're necessarily going to see the USS Gerald Ford pull anchor and leave the region anytime soon.
Appreciate that, yes.
Doesn't appear that way, Charlie, although it is worth noting that Ford has been at sea for 6 months, deploying back in June. She was moved from Europe to move to the Caribbean, part of what the Trump administration has said repeatedly, and with this new national security strategy, that the focus would be on the Western Hemisphere. We saw in the new national security strategy that Secretary of War Pete Hegseth unveiled at the Reagan National Defense Forum. And you're right, we've seen this huge buildup of U.S. military forces in the Caribbean, the USS Gerald Ford Strike Group, not just the aircraft carrier and squadrons of F-18 Super Hornets, but also the USS Iwo Jima amphibious ready group with thousands of Marines and, of course, dozens of attack helicopters. It's likely those Night Stalkers, the elite pilots that flew the strike force into Venezuela, were based aboard Iwo Jima. We also saw dozens of other warships in the region as well, armed with Tomahawk cruise missiles. And this buildup clearly had an impact on Nicolas Maduro. That's why in that interview, that's why we likely saw him almost pleading to the Trump administration for mercy. And perhaps this operation had been planned for a number of days. Remember, we had the strike in Nigeria targeting ISIS forces on Christmas Day. We've been hearing something was in the works for the past few days, and we hadn't seen President Trump on camera in the last few days. The last time we heard from him was New Year's Eve, Charlie, when a reporter asked him, what's your goal for the new year? And the president said peace, Charlie.
Lucas, with Maduro being gone, taken into U.S. custody by the DOJ, it leaves his vice president, who we've only heard from on state TV, saying that they wanted proof of life of Maduro and his wife. Have you gotten any more information on what is going on there? Do we have any indication of what is happening? Will there be a regime change?
Well, President Maduro is no longer running the country, and that statement from the vice president of Venezuela confirmed what President Trump said about Maduro and his wife had been removed from the country. We did hear from President Trump's Attorney General, Pam Bondi. If you could pull up that statement on X, I can read that for our viewers. Pam Bondi wrote, quote, Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, have been indicted in the Southern District of New York. Nicolas Maduro has been charged with narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices against the United States. They will soon face the full wrath of American justice on American soil in American courts. Now, it's notable, Doc, when you asked what comes next in Venezuela, Senior official who used to be posted at the Pentagon just told me recently that there are 25 to 50 Venezuelan generals that have bank accounts in excess of billions of dollars, not millions, but billions. You have to wonder if any kind of opposition leader like Maria Corina Machado were to come to the country, would those generals support her new leadership or whoever is designated by the Trump administration if they can make that happen in the country?
Well, you know, that's such a great point to raise, Lucas, whether or not these generals would trust someone like Maria Corina Machado, because the Cartel del Soles, Cartel of the Suns, is specifically named that because the epaulets, the sun-like shaped dressing on the generals' uniforms, that's where they got it. The reason why they were given that name is because the military is the cartel. That's what ultimately Nicolas Maduro is being indicted on in terms of running a cartel organization of narco-terrorists. You mentioned, though, Maria Corina Machado. Here's a little bit of what she had to say on Fox and Friends. Watch.
I go Kaine. What's up, baby? The strategy President Trump is developing, and his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, they know very well with whom they're dealing with. This is not a legitimate president. This is the head of a criminal structure that was already defeated in a presidential election by landslide. So they know how to deal with these kind of individuals that are criminals, narco-terrorists, and I believe that Maduro will get a very clear picture of what are his options and what's the future for Venezuela.
What would be your message to Americans who are worried that this could become another costly foreign entanglement for them?
Oh, no.
I believe it's exactly the contrary. Maduro started this war. President Trump is ending this war. A transition to democracy in Venezuela will make the Americas, including the United States, safer, more secure, and more prosperous. Because Venezuela, our country, has been turned into that safe haven for all those enemies, forces that want to undermine the institutions of the United States and also kill people in Venezuela and in your country. So we are solving and dismantling a criminal structure that has produced great pain and turned our country, our nation, into the best ally of the United States, a security shield for the Americas, and a huge opportunity for energy security as well. And one thing very important, Rachel, millions of Venezuelan migrants will come back home the day Maduro goes.
So that's what Maria Corina Machado had to say back in November. Is it your sense, Lucas, that at this press conference in just a few hours at 11 a.m., that we may learn more about whether or not the Trump administration is putting its backing behind someone like Machado, or if there's another plan for the governance now without Maduro?
Recall, Griff, that the opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, received about 80% of support inside the country. What officials have told me in the past is, unlike Iraq and Afghanistan, in Venezuela, it's a very united country, both politically and ethnically. You don't have Sunni, Shia, Druze, Kurds in Venezuela. It is one people, and they are pretty united. In fact, just a few minutes ago on social media, you've seen people start to take to the streets, yelling out of their apartments in Caracas. It sounds like many of the people in Caracas and in Venezuela are joyful today about Maduro being removed from office in this daring operation led by Special Operations Forces in the cover of night at about 2 a.m. this morning in Caracas. Certainly, there's something we're going to wait to hear from President Trump.
That's crazy.
Clearly, the Trump administration has game planned this
I'm
out.
up
This
playing
was just
FIFA
one
with the
part of the
fellas. They're around
operation.
here
Now it goes
snatching
into the
dictators out of
political
office.
realm,
Absolutely
and
wild.
who is going to rule the country, and will these
different
generals
24 hours,
allow
I
any
clearly see.
opposition leader to do it, or perhaps one of these generals might take over?
That's a great point. Not only are they one people, they also have a history of free markets and free self-governance. Lucas Tomlinson, we'll check back in with you as things warrant.
Thanks, Lucas.
And in the next hour, we will be hearing from Senator Tom Cotton, who was briefed by Rubio earlier this morning, and he'll be joining us in the 9 a.m. hour. Let's bring in Brett Velikovich, Fox News contributor, drone expert.
Let's switch this over active to CBS News.
Attorney General Pam Bondi announced a short time ago Maduro and his wife have been indicted in federal court on charges including narco-terrorism. There will be more details this morning at a news conference at Mar-a-Lago. We've got Natalie Brand traveling with the president in Florida with the latest. Natalie, good morning.
Good morning, Michael and Adriana. U.S. officials tell CBS News that Maduro was captured by the U.S. military's elite Delta Force. President Trump on social media early this morning confirmed what he called a large-scale and successful strike. Videos posted to social media show the scenes from Venezuela as explosions were reported at 2 a.m. local time in the capital of Caracas.
Yeah.
U.S. officials tell CBS News President Trump ordered strikes on sites inside the country early Saturday morning, including military facilities. In a statement, the Venezuelan government said it, quote, repudiates and denounces to the international community the very serious military aggression by the U.S. government. Ahead of the strikes, President Nicolas Maduro told state TV he's open to talking to the U.S. on drug trafficking, oil, and migration issues. The Trump administration has accused Maduro of being aligned with drug cartels and gangs designated by the U.S. as terrorist organizations. The Trump administration has spent months ramping up pressure on the Maduro regime. Last month, President Trump ordered a blockade of sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela. The massive military buildup of 15,000 American troops in the Caribbean includes 11 Navy ships led by the USS Gerald R. Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier. Marines aboard the USS Iwo Jima have been conducting live-fire exercises, and stealth fighter jets have been deployed to Puerto Rico. On Monday, President Trump confirmed the first known U.S. strike inside Venezuela, saying an alleged drug-related site was targeted.
They load the boats up with drugs, so we hit all the boats, and now we hit the area.
But he did not confirm reports that the CIA carried out that strike.
Well, I don't want to say that. I know exactly who it was, but I don't want to say who it was.
This week, there were also more deadly strikes on alleged drug boats off the coast of Venezuela. That brought the total to more than 30 strikes on vessels, killing at least 115. For weeks, Democratic lawmakers and even some Republicans have questioned the strategy.
It's a completely made up and false sense that we're at war, we can do whatever we want, but if Congress wants to vote on it, no, we're not at war.
Hey, I appreciate you, boss.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill, even allies of the president,
hey,
have
I
said
appreciate
they want
that, boss. Hold on, got to stop that. Show some appreciation and some love for the support right there. Let me click on over, man. Who was that? I got multi-stream going. You know, got to stop the chat and celebrate when people celebrate us, man. Todd, appreciate you, man.
Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you for tapping into the stream today. Still waiting on President Trump. Let's get back to this reporting. Hope y'all having a good Saturday, man. I didn't expect to wake up to this on Saturday.
The administration about what comes next and the end game. Senator Mike Lee of Utah new this morning on social media posted that he had a conversation with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who told him Maduro was arrested to stand trial on criminal charges in the United States and that the military action was deployed to protect and defend those executing the arrest warrant overnight. We are expecting to hear many more details from the president himself. A news conference is scheduled for 11 a.m. Eastern at Mar-a-Lago. Michael.
We still waiting. It's 11:12. Trump be on CP time.
Thank you.
Trump is always on CP time.
Here's a closer look at Nicolas Maduro. Venezuela's leader has been in power since 2013. Now, the U.S. does not formally recognize Maduro as the head of state and hasn't for years. Maduro was charged with narco-terrorism and corruption back in 2020, and there was a reward for $50 million for his arrest. Now, the State Department warned U.S. citizens in Venezuela to shelter in place this morning. And the U.S. Embassy in Colombia is warning Americans not to travel to Venezuela. For more, let's go to Lilia Luciano, who joins us from the Dominican Republic. Lilia, good morning.
Good morning to you, Michael. The situation in Venezuela right now could turn very volatile. I have been hearing reports from people who are truly afraid that any expression of support or even sharing the videos of these strikes that they themselves documented could make them a target of the regime. So far, since these strikes took place, we have heard from the Minister of Defense in Venezuela, who declared a state of emergency, a state of exception. He said that every military force in Venezuela will be deployed across the land. At the same time, he's calling for people to not fall into anarchy or chaos. The minister, it's an odd name, but a popular minister of justice, basically the de facto second or third most powerful person in Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, also spoke out and called for calm. But people in Venezuela who have been under this regime for decades understand that at a moment like this, any expression of support for the actions of the United States could be very dangerous. That's why that message is going out to U.S. or even, or other ally citizens in the country to be very careful. I have interviewed people very recently who are allied and supportive of the regime, and they say we are willing to fight. We're willing to give up our lives if we have to support this regime. So there may be an expectation that because there is an opposition that won an election last year, according to the voter tallies that they presented, to the evidence that they presented, and have been acknowledged by the international community as the legitimate government of Venezuela, that doesn't mean that this will be an easy transition. There are armed groups, there are armed guerrillas, and the government of Colombia, I spoke yesterday with the Minister of Defense of Colombia, which is, borders Venezuela. The government of Colombia is deploying their military to the border to both deal with any possible migration crisis that could emerge now after what happened last night because of the bombings or the taking of Maduro, or because they fear that those armed groups, the armed guerrillas, in particular the ELN from Colombia, which has been historically allied with forces in Venezuela, could retaliate. So it's a very dynamic situation. The opposition has not wanted to say anything. They have not responded to my request for comment yet. I assume they're waiting to hear from President Trump, but it's moving fast.
It is.
I'll be real, take a second for a break, right? I thought the Trax NYC thing, when he pulled up on Buddy about his diamonds, would be the most exciting thing this weekend. But clearly, Venezuela and this attacks, Maduro being captured, him and his wife in New York, it's just going to be a wild week. Again, Diddy, I think, will probably get pardoned in the headlines somewhere in here. I hate to say it, but that may happen. But more than anything, we have over 1,000 people here. If it's your first time here, I am your boy, the Hip Hop Lobbyist, professional lobbyist in the state of Florida. We are live streaming live in 2026. First live stream of the year. So I appreciate y'all tapping in. So make sure you subscribe. Let's see if we can hit 10,000 before January 31st. If you can just hit that subscribe button, 5, 10, one of y'all, it'll help us reach that goal. But thank you for tapping in. We're still waiting on President Trump to go live from Mar-a-Lago. But thank you. Let's get back to it.
Yes, indeed. Lilia Luciano, thank you so much for your reporting. I've been following it all. CBS News national security contributor Samantha Vinograd joins us now. She served as former Assistant Secretary for Counterterrorism at the Department of Homeland Security. Sam, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. So how precedented is a move like this from the U.S., and should Congress have been involved in the decision to do it?
That's the question.
Well, the Trump administration has said for several months that they don't need congressional authority to engage in military strikes against alleged drug smugglers. They have cited the president's constitutional authority as commander-in-chief of the U.S. Army and Navy under Article 2 of the Constitution, whereas many others have cited Article 1 of the Constitution and Congress's inherent responsibility
appreciate that. Hold on, man.
So that's a legal issue that's outstanding.
We got to stop. Thank you for the support.
Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
My man, thank you for that. Let's get back to it. Appreciate you for subscribing, liking, and tapping in with your boy this morning, man.
At the same time, Congress will be responsible, of course, for approving any funds that will be needed for further deployments in and around Venezuela and any stabilization needs on the ground, not to mention the precedent of a president invading another country, engaging in these strikes, and exfiltrating a foreign leader absent congressional authority. That's a checks and balances issue with serious repercussions going forward. There is precedent. Back in the 80s, the United States, for example, did capture via Delta forces the leader of Panama and bring him back to the United States to stand trial. So there is some precedent there, Adriana.
Appreciate y'all tapping on all over the
Senator
world, man.
Mike Lee says Secretary of State Marco Rubio expects no further action in Venezuela now that Maduro is in custody. But even if the White House is saying this is over, how will Venezuela react to this? And should Americans be concerned about possible escalation or retaliation?
Well, I don't think there will be one reaction by Venezuela. Venezuelans are not a monolithic entity. Instead, what we have to wait and see, and what we just don't know, is whether there have been any conversations through covert channels, for example, with members of Maduro loyalists to talk to them about de-escalation and leaving power, and or any conversations with opposition leaders about stepping in to run the country. Under the Venezuelan constitution, ostensibly the vice president should take over.
Man,
but what we
Mike,
don't know again if there have been discussions
Mike
about
said
who's
go
going
to
to
Cuba
run
next.
Venezuela
No,
now
sir.
that Maduro is gone, whether with Maduro loyalists, with the opposition, and or with neighboring countries like Colombia, like others, who could be critical in helping to instill a sense of calm and stabilization in an incredibly chaotic situation.
And Sam, what was your reaction when you saw the news that Maduro was in custody? And if you could imagine, what it was like behind the scenes, how complex is an operation like this?
Well, I think certainly
Hey, appreciate you tapping in from the UK, brother.
Belief that Maduro's reign of human rights abuses, democratic backsliding, narcotics trafficking, and more are over. At the same time, this was an incredibly complicated military operation, likely with a broad range of military assets backed up by seriously good intelligence on Maduro's whereabouts. So kudos to the folks that pulled it off. But it is truly mind-boggling that the United States launched this operation in Venezuela without congressional authorization, without a UN Security Council resolution. And that does open up a Pandora's box when it comes to precedent going forward. So while Maduro was an illegitimate leader doing very bad things, this was an unprecedented operation, and without the right follow-through could lead to a more chaotic situation than currently exists.
And Sam, where do you think that the U.S. would take Maduro?
They could take him a number of places, Adriana. I think that ultimately the goal is to have him stand trial in the United States. He was indicted in 2020 on a range of narcotics and other charges. But behind the scenes, ostensibly, there's a law enforcement angle to this, where to take Maduro, where to have him stand trial. Certainly what government will be functioning today now that Maduro is no longer there. And further, what happens to Venezuela's vast resources, its oil, its gold, its mineral deposits, and other matters. And so,
hold on now, she hit it all. She hit everything that this is really about, right? Or am I tripping? I don't want to get into conspiracy theories. People said check the history in the chat. So make sure y'all Google the history.
That wargaming, Adriana, not the military side, but the stabilization side, oftentimes accompanies the discussions and the wargaming on the actual military operation. We just don't know what's happened in that regard, and we hope to hear more about that from the president this morning.
All right, Sam Vinograd, thanks so much for joining us. And we want to turn now to Ed O'Keefe, our senior White House and political correspondent. He is in our Washington newsroom. Ed, I know you've been talking with your White House sources all morning. What are you hearing in Washington?
Well, Michael, just keep in mind the president has been saying for months that this kind of attack or operation inside Venezuela was possible. And we know, or CBS News has learned, that the president had given the green light to conduct land strikes in Venezuela at some point here in recent days.
The thing is, to me, I guess it'll be people on the street, right? Because you're trying to take a regime leader out. But what about innocent people on the street? And that's what I want to get to. Hold on one second, y'all. This guy, a Venezuelan streamer. Let me make sure the vertical people can see it, right? Hold on. Let me get my vertical people together. Hold on. We doing vertical and canvas. So trying to get my people together so they can see this for what it is, right? We'll start it over. So you just walk in the street.
Y después van hacia arriba. ¿Sí? Siempre, parte de su madre o parte de su mujer.
That's not scary shit. be scared shit. The memory started. Hold on. Let me set it up the other way for y'all. Just my vertical people. Like, you just walking, trying to get a little bit of, you know, content in. And all of a sudden.
Y después van hacia arriba. ¿Sí? Si es por parte de su madre o parte... boludo, se cortó la luz.
That's some scary ass shit. I can't hold you. I would probably shit myself. Hypothetically speaking, right? But it's kind of crazy. You're just walking down the street and all of a sudden, like, wait, yeah, you want to come after the dictator, but what about the bystanders, the innocent people in this?
Before this actual operation occurred, part of the issue in recent days has been the weather. There was authority to do this as early as Christmas Day, but there were actually U.S. military operations that day against ISIS targets in Nigeria, and so the focus shifted to that and then back to Venezuela. And for several days now, there have been concerns about the weather, and now we understand why. It was if it was that they had to go in and capture Maduro and his wife and bring them out, then perhaps, yes, you needed clear skies and favorable weather conditions to do that. And so that gives you a sense of how long the White House and the Pentagon have been preparing for this. What's telling, too, is the fact that he says here law enforcement operations or law enforcement was involved. As you've been discussing with Sam and Natalie and Lilia, the idea now that he would be brought to the United States to face the charges he was indicted on back in 2020 mirrors what happened 35 years ago today, when the Panamanian leader Manuel Noriega was arrested in Panama and brought to the United States to face drug trafficking charges. Maduro faces similar ones, and should it go similar to the way it did for Noriega, then Maduro would face charges here. You know, could be found guilty, serve time here in the United States while a new political process plays out in Venezuela. And we'll hear later whether that's exactly what the president wants. And if indeed, as Secretary Rubio is apparently telling Republican lawmakers this morning, the military aspect of this is over.
So, Ed, some lawmakers in Congress have been in support of this. Others on both sides of the aisle are concerned about whether it's legal. What political ramifications might this have for the president, both in Congress and among the American public?
Well, we've been polling this, Adriana, for several months now, and it's telling how deeply skeptical the country is about this across partisan lines. Consider 73% said in a CBS News poll just last month the president needs to explain what's going on in Venezuela. When we asked about it in November, 70% said they'd oppose military action against the country. 3/4 said the administration hadn't clearly explained why military action is necessary. And 3 in 4 said the president would need congressional approval before taking military action in Venezuela, including a majority of Republicans, which is why you saw this morning several of them on social media at least express concerns about this. But we're also seeing the Secretary of State calling around to some of his former Republican colleagues in the Senate, at least Mike Lee, Tom Cotton, head of the Intelligence Committee, to say this is why we did it, this is why we believe it was legal or constitutional. We'll see whether they stand by them in the coming hours, depending on what the president says later.
Ed O'Keefe, thank you so much.
Oh, it's been a crazy day. Let me get to this other video I saw. We're still waiting on Trump. If you don't believe me, say, listen, they said 11 o'clock. This is the official White House YouTube channel. We're still waiting on Trump to go live. So it's not me. It's on them. But as you see, Caracas,
está vivo en ti, juventud venezolana. Qué dolor, qué
people are out
tristeza.
and about, man.
Pero ¿saben algo? ¿Saben algo? Este dolor y esta tristeza, esta arrechera nos debe unir más. Nos debe unir más. Porque la batalla que vamos a dar ahora es una batalla por la libertad del mundo. No dejen que les vendan esto como una operación de justicia. Esto es un crimen. Y cuidado con los traidores. Cuidado con los traidores.
They're waiting on Trump to get in the room. Presidential podium there, waiting on Trump. So, you know, appreciate y'all tapping in. Waiting on Big Trump to get in the room.
La patria sigue, compatriotas. Venceremos. Gracias, la juventud del futuro. Excelente, hermano. Seguimos acá, viene ahora nuestro compatriota, exministro y luchador social. Adelante, hermano. José Lorca.
Compañeros, compañeras, camaradas, estamos en un momento decisivo para nuestra patria. Y cada uno de nosotros es tan valioso.
I honestly don't think a lot of people voted for any kind of war, right? We already had Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Palestine, Palestine, Israel, Congo, Nigeria, South Africa, whatever you want to claim, right? But there were a lot of different wars happening, but I don't think people overly last November, the November before last, voted for this. And now we're only in year 2. We're about to go into where we are in now, a midterm election year. And it's going to be telling us, okay, how impactful little things like this will be. And then when I say little, I mean, it's a big world. Like, a lot of things happen, but it's like, damn, nobody really expected to wake up and have a dictator captured and that'll be tried in New York courts. And we're still waiting on Trump to get in the room. But what do you expect? It's Trump. Part 2. Gotta stay on your toes about this shit. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. Let me get into another news clip about this. See what the BBC is saying. Oh, that's True Social. Actually, thought I'd get to a news report there. Trick me. Where is... I just saw something on X. Make sure this pulls up right. It's kind of wild. Too many windows in the background. Defiant Maduro.
Venga por mí. Aquí lo espero en Miraflores. No se tarde en llegar, cobarde.
I just got 3 things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine.
Venga por mí.
I can't have that on the stream. I forgot. Listen, I caught that. See, that's why. Whoop, let me get out of that. I'm waiting on Big Trump, man. It's absolutely wild. I just caught that. Just realized, you can't have other people's music on the stream. But while we're here, thank y'all for tapping in with your boy. Waiting on Big Trump. The presidential seal in this bitch. That bombing was crazy. That was like a fireworks show. I want to watch it again without the music. I need to watch it again without the music. That was absolutely crazy. Did y'all see that? I'm gonna pull that back up. We're waiting on Trump, man. Did y'all see that? That was like a fireworks show, man. Caracas was, my God. Listen, there's got to be some more on the ground from that. I found another one. We're waiting on Trump.
We begin with breaking news at 11 o'clock. There are explosions happening right now in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela. Video going viral on social media. They're showing powerful explosions happening in a number of places. I'm looking for a new video. Like this isn't a fireworks show I just saw. Video showing what appears to be Chinook and Apache attack helicopters flying across the city as these explosions continue. Residents in the city also posting about the sound of fighter jets flying over the city as well. Now, the Pentagon has moved an armada of Navy ships, including the Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier and all of its support ships into the Caribbean Sea just off the coast of Venezuela. But there has been no official word from the White House or the Pentagon.
Hey, fireworks for real, bro.
Operation targeting sites in Venezuela tonight, but it is clear from the videos that we have seen that some type of military operation is now underway.
If I'm on my butt, I can't see over their heads.
Waiting on Trump still, y'all. Absolutely crazy. Who would have this camera angle? at a presidential event. That's absolutely. I'm gonna take that off my screen. Put this back up. I don't know who bro is, but his glasses all on the screen, all in the camera. What are your thoughts, chat? What are your thoughts on the bombing, capturing Maduro, Big Trump speaking soon? Appreciate y'all tapping in. I may wrap up after this. You never know. Shit, gotta see what the wife is. It's only 11:30. We could stream all day, but who knows? What? How does it? It's. What's the question? I don't. Let me think of the question that should be asked. Oh, my personal feelings. I honestly don't know. I honestly do not know. We have to wait and see what, of course, the president says, what members of Congress have to say. It's been a busy week. Like, you go from the Nick Sorter part of the Minnesota fraud, all that happening this week. Then at the same time, it's a fact of, like, New Year's in the middle of the week is kind of crazy. To be fair. Damn, we lost 500 people right there. It's absolutely wild. It's not me. It's not my fault waiting on Trump. Let me see. Guess this is the crazy part of the morning. Me overall, I've been doing good. Wait a minute. Get this reaction from people in Doral.
He is live in Doral. See, we can already hear the celebrations behind you.
That's right. The demonstrators here tell me that this is a day that will go down in history for the people of Venezuela. They tell me this was not an act of war, but an act of freedom here. And so we are here in Doral at El Arapazo. This is a gas station, but people have pretty much occupied it, and they've been here since before the sun got up here. People have been hugging, singing, celebrating. They've been singing the U.S. national anthem, the Venezuelan national anthem here. And again, there is such a massive Venezuelan population here in Doral, so this really does hit home. There are people with family down in Caracas, and they tell me they're more comfortable with going down to see them now with Maduro being removed here. The demonstrators tell me with the last election in Venezuela, where Maduro was accused of rigging the election and seizing power, people tell me this was the only way to get him out. Here's what someone said that we spoke to earlier.
It means that they waited so many years for a chance at freedom, and it's finally here. So it's 26 years of, of waiting and waiting for a better Venezuela that's free. And now they're going to be able to all go back and enjoy with their families.
That's amazing.
And again, a very emotional time for the Venezuelan community here. As we all know, Maduro had succeeded Hugo Chavez. So many of the people here have been waiting to be able to say that they have a more free Venezuela here and that they can go back to their families here. And we are going to be here throughout the morning getting reaction from the Venezuelan community here. And we see some elected officials coming here. So be sure to stay with us both on air and online. But for now, we are live in Doral. Steve Najiri, CBS News, Miami.
And Steve, I was wondering, out there, are you hearing much about President Trump? Are people talking about that Trump did this, or just more concerned about that it's finally happened?
Well, that's a good question. Right now, people are really more concerned about what is next for Venezuela.
Oh.
Many people are just sinking in the fact that
President Trump just walked in. Let's get to POTUS, man.
The United States Armed Forces, appreciate you being here, conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital last night of Venezuela. And early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history. And if you think about it, we've done some other good ones, like the attack on Soleimani, the attack on al-Baghdadi, and the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites just recently.
Big Trump.
In an operation known as Midnight Hammer. All perfectly executed and done. No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly in just a short period of time. All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have. It was dark, and it was deadly. But captured along with his wife, Celia Flores, both of whom now face American justice. Maduro and Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York, it's Jay Clayton, for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States and its citizens. I want to thank the men and women of our military who achieved such an extraordinary success overnight with breathtaking speed, power, precision, and competence. You rarely see anything like it. You've seen some raids in this country that didn't go so well. They were an embarrassment. If you look back to Afghanistan, or if you look back to the Jimmy Carter days.
There you go. The man's dead, bro. Come on.
A respected country again, like never before. These highly trained warriors operating in collaboration.
How you take a shot at the dead man?
Enforcement caught them in a very ready position. They were waiting for us. They knew we had many ships out.
50 Cent do it?
In the sea, we're just sort of waiting. They knew we were coming. So they were in a ready, what's called a ready position. But they were completely overwhelmed and very quickly incapacitated. If you would have seen what I saw last night, you would have been very impressed. I'm not sure that you'll ever get to see it, but it was an incredible thing to see.
TMZ,
not a single American
calling you out.
service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost. We had many helicopters, many planes, many people involved in that fight. But think of that, not one piece of military equipment was lost, not one service member was, more importantly, killed. The United States military is the strongest and most fearsome military on the planet by far. With capabilities and skills our enemies can scarcely begin to imagine. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world.
Yeah, soundboard, baby.
No equipment like what we have. You see that? Even if you just look at the boats, you know, we've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by sea. 90%. Each boat kills on average, 25,000 people. We knocked out 97%. And those drugs mostly come from a place called Venezuela. We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
That's crazy.
It has to be judicious because that's what we're all about.
It's like when the NBA took over the Pelicans.
And justice for the great people of Venezuela.
This is crazy.
And that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their country. It's their homeland. We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the good of the Venezuelan people in mind.
You say a lot of tricky words.
Decades of that. We're not going to let that happen. We're there now, and what people don't understand, but they understand as I say this, we're there now, but we're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place.
You say a lot of tricky words.
I don't think the people voted for this.
Essentially, until such time as
I don't think the people voted for this.
Take place. As everyone knows, the oil business in Venezuela has been a bust.
That's what it is.
For a long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure.
What?
And start making money for the country.
Okay.
We are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave if we needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not.
I beg your pardon?
Wave, if you'd like to call it that. The first attack was so successful, we probably don't have to do a second, but we're prepared to do
I beg
a
your
second
pardon?
wave, a much bigger wave, actually. This was pinpoint, but we have a much bigger wave that
y'all voted for this? Let me know in the chat.
We won't have to do. This partnership of Venezuela with the United States of America, a country that everybody wants to be involved with because of what we were able to do and accomplish, will make the people of Venezuela rich, independent, and safe. And it will also make the many, many people from Venezuela that are living in the United States extremely happy. They suffered. They suffered. So much was taken from them. They're not going to suffer anymore. The illegitimate dictator Maduro was the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States. As alleged in the indictment, he personally oversaw the vicious cartel known as Cartel de las Solas, which flooded our nation with lethal poison, responsible for the deaths of countless Americans, many, many Americans. Hundreds of thousands over the years of Americans died because of him. Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil. Right now, they're on a ship that'll be heading to ultimately New York, and then a decision will be made, I assume, between New York and Miami or Florida.
Oh, Florida could have got it.
We have people where the overwhelming evidence of their crimes will be presented in a court of law. And I've seen it. I've seen what we have. It's both horrible and breathtaking that something like this could have been allowed to take place. For many years after his term as president of Venezuela expired, Maduro remained in power and waged a ceaseless campaign of violence, terror, and subversion against the United States of America, threatening not only our people, but the stability of the entire region.
Hey.
And you all saw it. In addition to trafficking gigantic amounts of illegal drugs that inflicted untold suffering and human destruction all over the country, all over in particular the United States, Maduro sent savage and murderous gangs, including the bloodthirsty prison gang Tren de Aragua, to terrorize American communities nationwide, and he did indeed. They were in Colorado. They took over apartment complexes. They cut the fingers of people they called police. They were brutal, but they're not so brutal now. And I just have to congratulate our military, Pete, and everybody, and our National Guard.
Oh, welcome to the stream. Make sure you subscribe, baby.
They've done, whether it's in Washington, D.C., where we have a totally safe city, where it was one of the most unsafe cities anywhere in the world, frankly, and now we have no crime in Washington, D.C. We haven't had
man, I had to go make it myself.
Terrorist attack a few weeks ago. A little bit of a different kind of a threat, but we haven't had a killing in a long period of time, 6-7 months. We used to have on average two a week in Washington, our capital. We don't have that anymore. The restaurants are opening. Everyone's happy. They're walking their daughters. They're walking their children, their wives. They walk to
the daughters.
Restaurants are opening.
Why are you singling out the daughters first, then children?
So I want to thank the National Guard. I want to thank our military.
Y'all heard
I want
that?
to thank law enforcement. Been amazing.
Trump watching the kids. He watching your daughters, y'all.
We're doing it, as you know, and we're doing it in Memphis, Tennessee right now, and crime is down. We've just sort of started a few weeks ago, but crime is down now 77%. And the governor of Louisiana called. Great.
Your president said it.
And he wanted us to help
They're
them.
walking their daughters.
A certain very nice part of Louisiana, and we have done that. It was a rough
Now they went down to Caracas, and they're going to send the National Guard down there, too. What's up?
It's down to almost nothing already after 2.5 weeks. New Orleans, it's down to almost nothing, and we've only been there for 2.5 weeks. Can't imagine why governors wouldn't want us to help. We also helped, as you know, in Chicago. Then crime went down a little bit there. We did a very small help because we had no working ability with the governor. The governor was a disaster, and the mayor was a disaster. But it knocked down crime. But we're pulling out of there when they need us. We'll know. You'll know. You'll be writing about it. And likewise, Los Angeles, where we saved Los Angeles early on, where the head of the police department made a statement that if the federal government didn't come in, we would have lost Los Angeles. That's long after the fires. That's when they had the riots in Los Angeles. We did a great job. Got no credit for it whatsoever, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. We don't need the credit. But we'll be pulling out when they need us. They'll call, or we'll go back if we have to. We'll go back. But we did a great job in various cities. But the place that we're very proud of is Washington, D.C., because it's our nation's capital.
Okay, Patrick, good point.
Being a crime-ridden mess to being one of the safest cities in the country. But the gangs that they sent raped, tortured, and murdered American women and children. They were in all of the cities I mentioned, Tren de Aragua. And they were sent by Maduro to terrorize our people, and now Maduro will never again be able to threaten an American citizen or anybody from Venezuela. There will no longer be threats. For years I've highlighted the stories of those innocent Americans whose lives were so heartlessly robbed by this Venezuelan terrorist organization. Really one of the worst. One of the worst. They say the worst. Americans like 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary from Houston. Beautiful Jocelyn Nungary, what happened to her? They, as you know, they kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered by Tren de Aragua animals. They murdered Jocelyn and left her dead under the bridge. There was a bridge that will never be the same to so many people after seeing what happened. As I've said many times, the Maduro regime emptied out their prisons, sent their worst and most violent monsters into the United States to steal American lives. And they came from mental institutions and insane asylums. They came from prisons and jails. The reason I say both, they sound similar. Actually, prisons a little bit more hostile, a little bit tougher. A mental institution isn't as tough as an insane asylum, but we got them both. They sent from their mental institutions. They sent from their jails, prisons. They were drug dealers. They were drug kingpins. They sent everybody bad into the United States, but no longer. And we have now a border where nobody gets through. In addition, Venezuela unilaterally seized and stole American oil, American assets, and American platforms, costing us billions and billions of dollars. They did this a while ago, but we never had a president that did anything about it. They took all of our property. It was our property. We built it.
It's a 50-50 vote right now, y'all. Keep voting on the poll.
They didn't do anything about it. Instead, they fought wars that were 10,000 miles away. We built Venezuela oil industry with American talent, drive, and skill, and the socialist regime stole it from us during those previous administrations, and they stole it through force. This constituted one of the largest thefts of American property in the history of our country. Considered the largest theft of property in the history of our country. Massive oil infrastructure was taken like we were babies, and we didn't do anything about it. I would have done something about it. America will never allow foreign powers to rob our people or drive us back into...
Damn. The chat wild, bro.
Our own hemisphere. That's what they did. Furthermore, under the now deposed dictator Maduro, Venezuela was increasingly hosting foreign adversaries in our region and acquiring menacing offensive weapons that could threaten U.S. interests and lives. And they used those weapons last night. Potentially in league with the cartels operating along our border. All of these actions were in gross violation of the core principles of American foreign policy, dating back more than 2 centuries. And not anymore. All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines. And the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal, but we've superseded it by a lot, by a real lot. They now call it the Monroe Document. I don't know. It's Monroe Doctrine. We sort of forgot about it. It was very important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore. Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. Won't happen. So just in concluding, for decades, other administrations have neglected or even contributed to these growing security threats in the Western Hemisphere. Under the Trump administration, we are reasserting American power in a very powerful way in our home region. And our home region is very different than it was just a short while ago. The future will be, and we did this in my first term. We had great dominance in my first term, and we have far greater dominance right now. Everyone's coming back to us. The future will be determined by the ability to protect commerce and territory and resources that are core to national security. These are core to our national security. Just like tariffs are, they've made our country rich, and they've made our national security stronger than ever before. But these are the iron laws that have always determined global power. And
a couple more votes. I'm gonna keep the vote up till noon.
Secure our borders. We will stop
up till noon.
Terrorists. We will crash the cartels, and we will defend our citizens against all threats, foreign and domestic. Other presidents may have lacked the courage or whatever to defend America, but I will never allow terrorists and criminals to operate with impunity against the United States. This extremely successful operation should serve as warning to anyone who would threaten American sovereignty or endanger American lives. Very importantly, the embargo on all Venezuelan oil remains in full effect. The American Armada remains poised in position, and the United States retains all military options until United States demands have been fully met and fully satisfied.
Wait, what?
all political and military figures in Venezuela should understand what happened to Maduro can happen to them.
Oh,
and
shit.
It will happen to them if they aren't just, fair, even to their people. The dictator in terrorist,
Trump.
Maduro, is finally gone in Venezuela. People are free. They're free again. It's been a long time for them, but they're free. America is a safer nation. This morning, it's a prouder nation this morning because it didn't allow this horrible person and this country that was doing very bad things to us. It didn't allow it to happen. And the Western Hemisphere is right now a much safer place to be. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank General Raisen Kaine. He's a fantastic man. I've worked with a lot of generals. I worked with some I didn't like. I worked with some I didn't respect. I worked with some that just weren't good. But this guy is fantastic. I watched last night one of the most precise attacks on sovereignty. I mean, it was an attack for justice. And I'm very proud of him, and I'm very proud of our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, who I'm going to ask to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, can you explain how the U.S. will run Venezuela?
You ain't hear the man say Pete gonna speak?
Finally, a commander-in-chief the world respects and the American people deserve. And as the President said, words can barely capture the bravery and the power and the precision of this historic operation. A massive joint military and law enforcement raid flawlessly executed by the greatest Americans our country
Make sure you drop a like, subscribe.
American warriors
people
are
just
second
tapping in with your boy
best
today.
in the world and the best of our country. What all of us witnessed last night was sheer guts and grit, gallantry, and glory of the American warrior. I'm simply humbled by such a man.
Time to close the poll.
I tip my hat to our chairman, Dan Raisen Kaine, and all those Americans who stood watch last night. Our warriors are
almost
the elite
600
of America,
votes.
and again, President Trump
52% of y'all said you did not vote for this.
no other country on planet Earth, and it's not even close, could pull this kind of operation off. And no other president has ever shown this kind of leadership, courage, and resolve. The most powerful combination the world has ever seen. As the president said, our adversaries remain on notice. America can project our will anywhere, anytime. The coordination, the stealth, the lethality, the precision, the very long arm of American justice, all on full display in the middle of the night. Nicolas Maduro had his chance. Just
Hey,
like
I get
Iran
it.
had their
Some people
chance.
did, some people didn't. It was a
Until
question.
they didn't, and until he didn't.
It was a question, man.
He effed around, and he found out.
What if I
President
found
Trump
out?
is deadly serious about stopping the flow of gangs and violence to our country. Deadly serious about stopping the flow of drugs and poison to our people. Deadly serious about getting back the oil that was stolen from us. And deadly serious about reestablishing American deterrence and dominance in the Western Hemisphere. This is about the safety, security, freedom, and prosperity of the American people. This is America first. This
Rico made a good
is
point.
peace through strength.
A lot of
And the
people
United
care so
States
much.
War Department is proud.
Less drugs come to the U.S., hopefully less migration. What's the problem?
2026, and under President Trump, America is back. I'd like to welcome now our chairman, Chairman Raisen Kaine, to give a few more details about the operation. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning. Last night, on the order of the President of the United States and in support of a request from the Department of Justice, as the President said, the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolas and Cecilia Maduro. This operation, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, was discreet, precise, and conducted during the darkest hours of January 2nd, and was
I go live on TikTok every now and then.
of planning and rehearsal.
I was doing
An
Twitch, but not
operation that,
as
frankly,
much.
Only the United States
But focus on
military
YouTube, trying to get my YouTube right.
What I'd like to do this morning is talk to you through some of the preparation and the details without compromising any of our tactics, techniques, and procedures. There is always a chance that will be tasked to do this type of mission again. Our interagency work began months ago and built on decades of experience.
My bad, y'all. I didn't realize the sound cut. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second on that, because man, I just gotta restart my shit. Hold on. I was on TikTok looking for some other on the ground news.
And the word
there we go. My bad on that, y'all. Thanks for the call out.
Explain the sheer complexity of such a mission. An extraction so precise it involved more than 150 aircraft launching across the Western Hemisphere in close coordination, all coming together in time and place to layer effects for a single purpose: to get an interdiction force into downtown Caracas while maintaining the element of tactical surprise. Failure of one component of this well-oiled machine would have endangered
I lost a lot of y'all on that. Some of y'all stayed though. Appreciate that.
Is never an option for
I
American
wasn't watching the chat.
force.
That's my problem.
Those in the air over Caracas last night were willing to give their lives for those on the ground and in the helicopters. Let me talk a little bit about the preparation. After months of work by our intelligence teammates to find Maduro and understand how he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets, in early December, our force was set pending a series of aligned events.
Listen.
Key was choosing the right day to minimize the potential for civilian harm and maximize the element of surprise, and minimize the harm to the indicted personnel, so as the president said, they could be brought to justice. And as the president said earlier today, weather in Venezuela is always a factor this time of the year. And over the weeks through Christmas and New Year's, the men and women of the United States military sat ready, patiently waiting for the right triggers to be met and the president to order us into action. Last night, the weather broke just enough, clearing a path that only the most skilled aviators in the world could maneuver through. Ocean, mountain, low clouds, ceilings, but when tasked with a mission, this organization does not quit. At 10:46 p.m. Eastern Time last night, the President ordered the United States military to move forward with this mission. He said to us, and we appreciate it, Mr. President, good luck and Godspeed. And those words were transmitted to the entire joint force. Over the course of the night, aircraft began launching from 20 different bases on land and sea across the Western Hemisphere. In total, more than 150 aircraft, bombers, fighters, intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, rotary wing were in the air last night. Thousands and thousands of hours of experience were airborne. Our youngest crew member was 20, and our oldest crew member was 49, and there's simply no match for American military might. As the night began, the helicopters took off with the extraction force, which included law enforcement officers, and began their flight into Venezuela at 100 feet above the water. As they approached Venezuelan shores, the United States began layering different effects provided by Spacecom, Cybercom, and other members of the interagency to create a pathway. Overhead, those forces were protected by aircraft from the United States Marines, the United States Navy, the United States Air Force, and the Air National Guard. The force included F-22s, F-35s, F-18s, EA-18s, E-2s, B-1s, and other support aircraft, as well as numerous remotely piloted drones. As the force began to approach Caracas, the Joint Air Component began dismantling and disabling the air defense systems in Venezuela, employing weapons to ensure the safe passage of the helicopters into the target area. The goal of our air component is, was, and always will be to protect the helicopters and the ground force and get them to the target and get them home. As the force crossed the last point of high terrain where they'd been hiding in the clutter, we assessed that we had maintained totally the element of surprise. As the helicopter force ingressed towards the objective at low level, we arrived at Maduro's compound at 1:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 2:01 a.m. Caracas local time, and the apprehension force descended into Maduro's compound and moved with speed, precision, and discipline towards their objective, and isolated the area to ensure the safety and security of the ground force while apprehending the indicted persons. On arrival into the target area, the helicopters came under fire, and they replied with that fire with overwhelming force in self-defense. One of our aircraft was hit but remained flyable, and as the President said earlier today, all of our aircraft came home, and that aircraft remained flyable during the rest of the mission. As the operation unfolded at the compound, our air and ground intelligence teams provided real-time updates to the ground force, ensuring those forces could safely navigate the complex environment without unnecessary risk. The force remained protected by overhead tactical aviation. Maduro and his wife, both indicted, gave up and were taken into custody by the Department of Justice, assisted by our incredible U.S. military with professionalism and precision, with no loss of U.S. life. After securing the indicted persons, the force began to prep for departure. Helicopters were called in to exfiltrate the extraction force, while fighter aircraft and remotely piloted aircraft provided overhead coverage and suppressive fire. There were multiple self-defense engagements as the force began to withdraw out of Venezuela. The force successfully exfiltrated and returned to their afloat launch bases, and the force was over the water at 3:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I was just about to go to bed.
On board, and both Maduro and his wife were embarked aboard the USS Iwo Jima. In closing, what we've witnessed today is a powerful demonstration of America's joint force. We think, we develop, we train, we rehearse, we debrief, we rehearse again and again, not to get it right, but to ensure that we cannot get it wrong. Our jobs are to integrate combat power so when the order comes, we can deliver overwhelming force at the time and the place of our choosing against any foe anywhere in the world. I am immensely proud today of our joint force and filled with gratitude to represent them here today. There is simply no mission too difficult for these incredible professionals and the families that stand by them and support them. As we stand here this morning, our forces remain in the region at a high state of readiness, prepared to project power, defend themselves, and our interests in the region. This operation is a testament to the dedication and unwavering commitment to justice and our resolve to hold accountable those who threaten peace and stability. In closing, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the brave men and women who executed this mission. Their courage and tireless commitment to our nation are what makes us strong. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, I don't have much to add to what you've heard now, other than the following points. Nicolas Maduro was indicted in 2020 in the United States. He is not the legitimate president of Venezuela. That's not just us saying it. The first Trump administration, the Biden administration, the second Trump administration, none of those three recognized him. He's not recognized by the European Union and multiple countries around the world. He is a fugitive of American justice with a $50 million reward, which I guess we saved $50 million. And
we should make sure.
yeah, exactly.
Nobody was going to get that man single-handedly.
Nobody deserves it but us.
But I want to be clear about one thing. Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when he's going to tell you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actually, I can tell you, I've watched this process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this, we're going to take. This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. This is the way it's going to play out, and I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States, and the president addressed it. There's a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities to find his way somewhere else and figure out another. He could have been living somewhere else right now very happy, but instead he wanted to play big boy. And so now, he's got other sets of problems on his hands. And but I think the message here should be for the world. Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to pick fights with. He's not, generally wants to get along with everybody. We'll talk and meet with anybody, but don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office because it's not going to turn out well. And so I hope that, I guess that lesson was learned last night, and we hope it'll be instructive moving forward.
Shots fired. Big Marco out there, man.
Mr. President.
Big Trump back.
Mr. President. Mr. President.
You said that the U.S. is going to run Venezuela, so who's in power right now?
Well, we're going to be running it with a group, and we're going to make sure it's run properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars. It'll be paid for by the oil companies directly. They will be reimbursed for what they're doing, but that's
from who?
Paid. And we're going to get the oil flowing the way it should be. As you know, it was just a minor flow. It was actually a minor flow for what they have. But we're going to run it properly, and we're going to make sure the people of Venezuela are taken care of. We're going to make sure the people that were forced out of Venezuela by this thug are also taken care of.
Mr. President.
That's crazy. I don't think we voted for that.
Mr. President, does the U.S. running the country mean that U.S. troops will be on the ground? How will that work?
Well, they always say boots on the ground. So we're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night at a very high level, actually. We're not afraid of it. We don't mind saying it. But we're going to make sure that that country is run properly. We're not doing this in vain. This is a very dangerous attack. This is an attack that could have gone very, very badly. Could have gone very badly. We could have lost a lot of people last night. We could have lost a lot of dignity. We could have lost a lot of equipment. The equipment is less important, but we could have lost a lot. And we're going to make sure that this is proper. We're there now. We're ready to go again if we have to. We're going to run the country right. It's going to be run very judiciously, very fairly. It's going to make a lot of money. We're going to give money to the people. We're going to reimburse people that were taken advantage of.
You say a lot of tricky words.
Everybody. It's very important. We couldn't let them get away with it. They stole our oil. We built that whole industry there, and they just took it over like we were nothing. And we had a president that decided not to do anything about it. So we did something about it. We're late, but we did something about it. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, can you explain the exact mechanism by which you're going to run the country? Are you going to designate a U.S. official to coordinate?
It's all being done right now. We're designating people. We're talking to people. We're designating various people, and we're going to let you know who those people are.
Mr. President, what's the group you mentioned that would run Venezuela?
Well, it's largely going to be, for a period of time, the people that are standing right behind me. We're going to be running it. We're going to be bringing it back. It's a dead, I talk about a dead country. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're
here we go.
The hottest country anywhere in the world. We're a country doing better than any country anywhere in the world. And it required leadership. Venezuela has a lot of bad people.
We're taking over Venezuela, y'all?
People
thought we were doing Greenland.
We're not going to take a chance that one of those people take over for Maduro. So you can look at, and others, we have fantastic people, including people in the military. So we're going to have a group of people running it until such time as it can be put back on track.
You said
make
a lot of
money for the people and give people a great way of life, and also reimbursement for people in our country that were forced out of Venezuela.
Mr. President,
Rubio would be.
You said earlier today that you weren't going to back Machado to come back and be the opposition leader in your Fox and Friends interview. And then you also mentioned the vice president of Venezuela. Are you going to work with the vice president of Venezuela, or how do you foresee the relationship going?
I understand she was just sworn in, but she was, as you know, picked by Maduro. So Marco's working on that directly. He just had a conversation with her, and she's essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Very simple.
You said a lot of tricky words.
Mr. President,
I never heard that shit
Colombian President Gustavo Petro, a couple weeks ago, you said he's got to watch his ass.
Make Venezuela great again?
And today he said he's not concerned about anything happening to him in the aftermath of this operation. So just what your message is about that.
Well, he has cocaine mills. He has factories where he makes cocaine. And yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine. They're sending it into the United States. So he does have to watch his ass.
Mr.
President, did you notify any members of Congress in advance?
Marco, do you want to talk about that?
Oh, here we go.
Sure. We call
Marco.
Congress immediately after. This was not the kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days. So it's just simply not the kind of mission you can call people and say, hey, we may do this at some point in the next 15 days. But it's largely a law enforcement function. Remember, at the end of the day, at its core, this was an arrest of 2 indicted fugitives of American justice, and the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that job. Now, there are broader policy implications here, but it's just not the kind of mission that you can pre-notify because it endangers the mission.
Oh, okay. Congress ain't gonna like that shit. Okay.
Congress has a tendency to leak. This would not be good. If they leaked, General, I think it would have been maybe a very different result. But I have to say, they knew we were coming at some point, We had a lot of ships out there. They sort of knew we were coming. But Congress will leak, and we don't want leakage.
Mr. President.
You were one of the only people to watch this all play out live. What was Maduro doing when the U.S. forces entered what I assume would be his home? And also, was there any point where the U.S. was considering if Maduro pushed back or resisted killing Maduro?
It could have happened.
Damn.
It could have happened. He was trying to get into a safe place. You know what a safe place is, all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast. They went through the opposition so fast. And there was a lot of opposition. People were wondering, do we get them by surprise? Sort of surprised, but they were waiting for something. It was a lot of opposition. There was a lot of gunfire. You saw some of it today. But he was trying to get to a safe place, which wasn't safe because we would have had the door blown up in about 47 seconds, they say, on average. Regardless of how thick the steel was. It was a very thick door. It was a very heavy door, but he was unable to get to that door. He made it to the door. He was unable to close it.
So where is Maduro going to be?
Go ahead, finish.
Where is Maduro going to be in the time being right now? Do you know his exact whereabouts?
Well, eventually, ultimately, in the near future, he's going to be brought to New York.
And where is he going to be held? Where is he going to be held in New York? Do you know?
That's going to be up to the officials that do these things.
Mr. President, the U.S. has something of a mixed track record of ousting dictators without necessarily a plan for what comes afterwards. Did that weigh on your decision
making? Well, that's
when
we had different presidents, but with me, that's not true.
We're still on that change of battery. It's a soundboard. Shut up, bitch.
We win a lot, and we win. If you look at Soleimani, you look at al-Baghdadi, you look at the Midnight Hammer. Midnight Hammer was incredible. Right now, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. We have essentially peace in the Middle East because of that. If we weren't successful with Midnight Hammer, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. So, with me, you've had a lot of victory. You've had only victories. You've had no losses. Yeah.
Mr. President, can you
no
how
losses
long do you
yet?
expect the U.S. to run Venezuela, and how soon do you want the Venezuelan people to hold elections?
So I'd like to do it quickly, but it takes a period of time. You know, we're rebuilding. We have to rebuild their whole infrastructure. The infrastructure is rotted. It's actually very dangerous. It's blow-up territory. Oil is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to take out of the ground. It can kill a lot of people. It has killed a lot of people doing just that. The infrastructure is old. It's rotted. Much of the stuff that we put there 25 years ago, and we're going to be replacing it. And we're going to take a lot of money out so that we can take care of the country.
Secretary Rubio and
Mr. President, China, Russia, and Iran have interests in Venezuela. How does this operation affect your relationships with them when it comes to the oil and
China
drugs?
and Russia, Russia when we get things straightened out. But in terms of other countries that want oil, we're in the oil business. We're going to sell it to them. We're not going to say we're not going to. In other words, we'll be selling oil probably in much larger doses because they couldn't produce very much because their infrastructure was so bad. So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now, but I would say many more will come.
Are you saying that, Mr. President, are you saying that...
Mr. President, thank you. What is your message to the people of Venezuela today? Of course, the civilian population specifically, they have a lot of questions. What is your message to the people of Venezuela?
That you're going to have peace, justice. You're going to have some of the riches that you should have had for a long period of time. It was stolen from you. But you're going to have peace, and you're going to have safety. You're going to have justice. You're going to have a country. You're going to have a real country. You're going to have potentially a great country. You know, if you go back 20 years, maybe even a little longer ago, that was a great country, and they destroyed it. Remember I said that if we lose this election, the United States will be Venezuela on steroids. That's what would have happened. Had we lost the election, the 2024 election, we suffered so badly. When you look at the border from 2020, what they did, what Joe Biden administration did to our country should never be forgotten. But if we had to go through another year of that, we would be exactly where Venezuela was in terms of, I used to say, if they win, we're going to be Venezuela on steroids, and that's what would have happened.
President, thank you. Are you saying that Secretary Hegseth and Rubio are going to be running Venezuela, and will you be sending in U.S. military troops to provide?
They're going to be a team that's working with the people of Venezuela to make sure that we have Venezuela right. Because for us to just leave, who's going to take over? I mean, there is nobody to take over. You have a vice president who's been appointed by Maduro. And right now she's the vice president, and she's, I guess, the president. She was sworn as president just a little while ago. She had a long conversation with Marco, and she said, we'll do whatever you need. I think she was quite gracious, but she really doesn't have a choice. We're going to have this done right. We're not going to just do this with Maduro, then leave like everybody else, leave and say, let it go to hell. If we just left, it has zero chance of ever coming back. We'll run it properly. We'll run it professionally. We'll have the greatest oil companies in the world go in and invest billions and billions of dollars and take out money, use that money in Venezuela. And the biggest beneficiary are going to be the people of Venezuela. And also, I can't stress this strongly enough, the people that got thrown out of Venezuela that are now in the United States, and frankly, some want to stay, and some probably want to go back. Yeah.
So, Mr. President,
what about immigration? I thought we sent everybody back.
Country, and were any of the detained Americans
Well, right now they're very
rescued
protected because nobody's going to mess with us. They're very protected. The people of, and we let them know that you better not touch one of them.
Are you concerned that bad elements of the Maduro regime will remain in place?
Well, we know who they are. We're on them, and they're acting much differently now than they would have acted 2 days ago.
And what
okay, wait, behind you, please.
Mr. President, why is running a country in South America America first?
Well, I think it is because we want to surround ourselves with good neighbors. We want to surround ourselves with stability. We want to surround ourselves with energy. We have tremendous energy in that country. It's very important that we protect it. We need that for ourselves. We need that for the world. And we want to make sure we can protect it.
On oil?
Yes, sir. Please, go ahead.
Yeah, is there a message here for Cuba and Diaz-Canel?
Well, Cuba's an interesting case. Cuba is, not doing very well right now. That system has not been a very good one for Cuba. The people there have suffered for many, many years. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about because Cuba is a failing nation right now. Very
damn. What, we going after Cuba too?
And we want to help the people. It's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Oh, here we go.
I mean, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. So suffice it to say, Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, they were, all the guards that helped protect Maduro, this is well known, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, they basically, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems the Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba. They tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit.
Are you cutting off the oil flow to Cuba from Venezuela?
Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned, it's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's an
The answer is yes.
Mr. President, is the U.S. aware of the location of opposition leader Machado, and have you been in contact with her?
No, we haven't. We haven't.
How many hesitations about Machado as the next leader?
On Monday.
Oh, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect.
Mr. President, is it possible that the U.S. ends up administrating Venezuela for years?
Well, it won't cost us anything because the money coming out of the ground is very substantial, so it's not going to cost us anything.
So the U.S. isn't going to dedicate money to...
Well, we want safety there. We want to be surrounded by countries that aren't housing all of our enemies all over the world. That's what was happening, and you don't want to have that. But we're going to be rebuilding, and we're not spending money. The oil companies are going to go in. They're going to spend money. We're going to take back the oil that, frankly, we should have taken back a long time ago. A lot of money is coming out of the ground. We're going to get reimbursed for all of that. We're going to get reimbursed for everything that we spend. So it's going to be a very important. This is a very big evening that took place last night. We have to be surrounded by safe, secure countries, and we also have to have energy. Very important. We have to have energy that's real energy, not where they're getting 4% and 5% of the energy out of the ground. You take a look. It was such a disaster. So what's going to happen with Venezuela, I think, over the next period of a year is going to be a great thing, and the people of Venezuela will be the biggest beneficiaries.
Mr. President, on Monday, U.S. military.
Mr. President, thank you. What did you last speak to Maduro about when you spoke? And is the
Well,
US
I don't want to
at
get
war
into
with
the
Venezuela?
conversations, but I did have conversations with him, and I said, you got to surrender. And I actually thought he was pretty close to doing so, but now he wished he did, yeah.
Mr. President, can you explain, you said that Maduro is responsible for drug trafficking. You recently pardoned the former president of Honduras who was convicted on many drug trafficking. Can you explain how these two situations are different? And would you ever pardon Maduro?
I endorsed, as you know, the winning president, the man who won in Honduras. I endorsed the man who won in Chile. I endorsed the man who won in Argentina. And we are doing very well with that whole group. What the man that I pardoned was, if you could equate it to us, he was treated like the Biden administration treated a man named Trump. That didn't work out too well for them.
What, you want me to interrupt the president, Robert? Shut the fuck up.
He was persecuted very unfairly. He was the head of the country.
If I talk over the president, people get mad, so I let the motherfucker speak. Get the fuck off my stream.
And we felt that it was a very unfair situation that happened to him. He's also a party member of the man who won. So obviously the people liked what I did. And one of the reasons that was done is because of the fact that the party in power felt very strongly that that man was treated very badly. I studied it very quickly, and then I studied it in great detail. I went to a lot of the people standing behind me, and they felt that that man was persecuted and treated very badly. That's why I gave him a pardon.
Mr. President, you referenced boots on the ground earlier. Can you just sort of button this up? Do you envision the U.S. military
having a presence in Venezuela as the U.S. runs that
Well,
country?
no, we're going to have a presence in Venezuela as it pertains to oil, because we have to have, we're sending our expertise.
I appreciate you, Buffy.
So you may need something, not very much. But no, we're going
I'm
to be
just
taking
chilling
out
today,
a
man.
tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground. And that wealth is going to the people of Venezuela and people from outside of Venezuela that used to be in Venezuela. And it goes also to the United States of America in the form of reimbursement for the damages caused us by that country. So I want to thank you all very much. Thank you. Do you have one? Yes, please. You were so nice before. I'm going to give you the final question. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Mr.
Unless it's a bad question, in
It's
which
about
case I'll
Putin.
go one word. It's about
It's about Putin, if you want.
About Putin. Well,
Okay.
that's always nice.
You had a
to talk
phone.
about Putin.
You had a phone call with him
Yeah.
on Monday. Did he talk at all about Maduro? Did y'all talk about this?
No, we didn't.
And
We
then-
never spoke about Maduro.
Are you mad at him right now? I mean, there's this
I'm not
intelligence.
thrilled with Putin. I'm not thrilled with Putin. He's killing too many people.
There was that
I
intelligence.
thought that would be so. I settled 8 1/4 war. You know what the 1/4 was? Thailand and Cambodia. I did it again.
I know about that.
They
A quarter
broke
war?
out,
Like a
and I
quarter,
split
like a
it in
quarter
about
zip.
5 hours, and I settled it. I'm giving myself 1/4, so I'm up to now 8 1/4. In other words, I settled the war, but then they
Quarter
broke
zip
out. They had
Trump.
a pretty bad breakout over the last 4 days. I got them to go back to peace, so I only give 1/4. I thought the easiest one would be, one of the easier ones would be Russia, Ukraine. It's not, and they both have done some pretty bad things. And look, that's Biden's war. That's not my war. But I want to stop the lives. Did you see where last month, 30,000, it was 27,000 the month before. 30,000, mostly soldiers, were killed this last month. 30,000. I want to stop that. You know, I got NATO to pay 5% instead of the 2% that they weren't paying. They weren't paying 2, now they pay 5. And we send them a lot of munitions. We send them a lot of things, missiles and various other things, a lot. And they pay. The United States is not losing money. We're probably making money on that. It's the last thing I care about. I just want to stop all those people. We're losing 25, 30,000 human beings that come from 2 places that are very far away. But if I can stop, because it's something I've been pretty good at doing, deals, I guess. It's all a deal. Life is a big deal. But if I can stop that war and stop 30,000 young people, in addition to the fact that people are being killed in Kiev, people are being killed in other cities throughout, a much smaller number, but they're being killed, viciously killed. So I'm not happy about it. I thought that would be something that would get solved. We have Mr. Witkoff here. I think that we're making progress, but that's a war that should have never happened. If I were president, it would have never happened. Putin says it. Everybody says it. If I were president, that would have never happened. But I inherited that war. That was Joe Biden, Zelensky, and Putin. I came into the situation, and it's a mess. And I will say this. I watched an operation last night that was so precise, that was so brilliant. I mean, it was incredible. If we had our people, like this general and our people involved, that war would not have gone on very long, that I can tell you.
You told me
That war, to use an old term, that war has become a bloodbath, and we want it to get stopped. Thank you very much.
All right, Big Trump's out, y'all. He actually took a lot more questions than I anticipated, which is kind of crazy. But again, you joined the stream late. Thank you for tapping in. But I didn't expect Venezuela to be attacked, for Maduro to be basically captured and sent to New York, and it's going to be on and popping. Guess what? I'm not going to take your whole Saturday on the stream. I got a family to do. I got to go catch my wife. She's out with the kids. Took them to Home Depot today, and I got to go catch them, tracking location. So I'm just pull up on them, throw some clothes on for what it is. But either way, I appreciate every single one of y'all tapping in for the stream today. Every single one of y'all. Listen, I had a goal of getting 100 subs. I didn't tell y'all, but we're almost there, right? We're at 9,093 subscribers on the channel. It's 7 of y'all that are here right now. Could subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it so much to help us get to 9,100 subs. And I appreciate every single one. Buffy, I've seen you in the chat today. Thank you for regulating. And really, I don't really push the likes. I want to push the subs, the subscribers, the watch time. Come back and watch a review. If you want to donate, you can. I'm not asking for it. But I appreciate you, Buffy, for making sure that people, at least for the views that we're getting, like it up, run it up a little bit more. But over 800 of y'all on the stream right now. Just know,
all I ask is when you lay your head on that pillow at night. I gave you everything I had.
Everything I got. So who am I? I am the hip hop lobbyist, a professional lobbyist in the state of Florida. I've never wanted to work in politics. I really fell into it. My last semester at the Florida A&M University, I was fired from my day job at the DoubleTree Hotel in downtown Tallahassee, and I took an unpaid internship in Florida's capital just to figure out what to do. This is around the time 808s and Heartbreak dropped by Kaine, when he was still in his right mind. All that put together, I took the unpaid internship. From there, I ended up working at a law firm, and then I represented some of the top interests in the state of Florida. Then May 22nd, 2014, 4:03 p.m., a spirit came over me and said, eliminate all distractions and find your purpose. I realized nobody else could be me. Nobody else could have my life story. Nobody else could have my journey to be where I'm at in life, to elect members of Congress, to pass laws, put constitutional amendments on the ballot, and everything put together. And I said, you know what? Hey, if it's what it is, what are the two things I love? The one thing I love is hip hop culture since Regulators Warren G. Another thing was being a lobbyist when I saw us putting a constitutional amendment on the ballot, because every member of the Florida House of Representatives voted for this piece of legislation for all the voters in the state of Florida to vote on. And that constitutional amendment was to allow a student representative to be on the board of governors without going through the Florida Student Association. They wanted to go straight appointment, right? Whatever. Cool. Technicality, the amendment failed. But I realized the power of politics at that point. Excuse me for hitting the mic there, right? All put together, one of the youngest black lobbyists in the state at that point. From there were roughly 60 of us out of 23 million people in the state of Florida that actually do this professionally. I'm one of the only solo practitioners, maybe 10 or 15 of us, maybe 10 on the solo side, on the real side. So from there, that's what I do. Come to some of the organizations I represent, a lot of youth organizations. I represent a lot of nonprofits, whether dealing with tech or elder services. One of the groups I recently received funding for was Holocaust Heroes Worldwide. They provide wraparound services for Holocaust survivors living in South Florida. We were able to get them $286,000 this year. We're going back for another $286,000 next year. You know why I focus on the money? Because a lot of nonprofits, a lot of organizations need resources. And guess what? I kind of feel like Robin Hood. I'm out here doing what I got to do to help people expand their services, and not just Holocaust survivors, but my biggest thing has always been youth service programs for kids out there to make sure that they can get a better and second chance at life, the way I kind of look at it, right? So if you have a reading comprehension program, a mentorship program, things of that nature, that's really what my bread and butter is. Say, you know what, cool, let me go get you $250,000, $500,000, $100,000 for what it is, right? Because I like to get out of the narrative of the bullshit politics. Now, on this channel that I started last April, I just started streaming around the Cory Booker filibuster, and I end up holding court with a lot of people here. I want to see how many people are still here with me. About 300. We lost 5. It's okay. Everybody doesn't want to hear the mess. But out of 300 of y'all, I would love it. Every single one of y'all subscribe to the channel, because guess what? What I'm trying to provide is at least a real perspective on politics. Now, today we only watched President Trump because Trump drives the numbers up. People want to be engaged. And at the same time, the Venezuelan thing is just like, damn, how the hell did we get here? So I got my clips. Make sure you follow on Instagram, Facebook, all other channels, Hip Hop Lobbyist, HIP, LOBBYIST. But more than anything, I appreciate over 132,000 of y'all sticking around and tapping in with your boy today. That's actually amazing. Over 300 of y'all here again. Remember, if you want to subscribe, you can. I don't like to beg for subscribers. So I've actually kind of learned this past year, the last 8 months, how to stream, how to, connect, engage with the audience. I got new lights up thanks to the wife, trying to straighten up my office and my desk, and also be a professional lobbyist. And, it was record content, post content, so people can actually see it, right? So I do what I can, because I do realize at the same time, there are not a lot of people who know what a lobbyist is, not a lot of people in this profession. So I at least like to share my little inklings and whatever it may be to help people actually understand what it's like in this lifestyle. So I'll be trying to share more. I actually need to get a new pair of Meta Ray-Bans, because for some odd reason, 2 weeks before session, my Ray-Bans broke. They didn't break. They just had a hardware failure. I want to stop. Hold on. Richie. Thank you, Richie. I appreciate you for supporting the channel.
Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
I appreciate you so much, Ricky, man. Hey, listen, I appreciate you taking time out of your day, wherever you are in the world, tapping in with me. And normally, I know it's kind of late. I'm trying to do my wrap up here. Let me know where you're tapping in from. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm a Florida lobbyist. I do some federal work. I have elected members to Congress, but I like to stay in my lane. You know what I'm saying? I like getting money for organizations, because the policy piece can be very nerve-wracking. I tell my mom, I tell my family, I tell everybody, politics isn't going to run my blood pressure up. You know why? Because I understand the game. I do understand the fact of it's a lot of bipartisanship that happens. There are a lot of Republicans that aren't vibing with Elon Musk and Trump. There's some Democrats that aren't vibing with the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden post-Democrat narrative on where we're going to be as a party, right? Collectively, I'm a Democrat, so don't come in here with Uncle Tom stuff either. I'm more in the middle. I'm bi, not sexual, partisan. So I'm always down to help people understand how to effectuate policy and put people in the best position so that when they get a seat at the table, they know what to do. Because the biggest thing I always see is Brevard County in the building, England in the building. I love this, right? Central Ohio in the building. The biggest thing I always see is when you go talk to an elected official, they'll tell you about their fight for Medicaid, their fight against Trump, their fight against Democrats, their fight against all these things and fear tactics and Sharia law and whatever it may be, right? At the end of the day, when you're going to your grocery store, when you're trying to provide for your family, when you're sleeping at night, 2 a.m, you're like, you know what, damn, what can I do, Lord, to help better provide? And I'm not saying going to the government for an answer. I'm not saying going to the government for a solution. What I'm saying is at least when you're talking to somebody, know that you won't be bullshitting. Like, Lord, when I go talk to this senator, this representative, this mayor, this city council person, what can I say to them to help make sure that this issue I'm facing gets resolved? Because I'm quite sure most people don't go to the grocery store and say, you know what, damn, it's Trump's fault. They're not going to the gas station and saying, oh, it's OPEC, which it really is. They're just mad. End of the day, Inglewood, California in the building. I was born in Cali, Buffy in the building. Appreciate you. All put together. I created a channel to help share my expertise. So that's why I want to get to 10,000 before I start breaking into more policy, other things. We're getting the new laws, everything else. San Antonio in the building, Connecticut in the building, DC in the building, Hungary. It's the international. We're getting a nice little audience out there, but all put together. Thank y'all for taking time out of your day. Let me again wrap it up here. I already hit it, but I'm gonna tap it one more time. All I ask is when you lay your head on a pillow at night.
Is when you lay your head on that pillow at night.
Just know I gave you everything I got. Hold on.
I gave you everything I had.
We got another one. Lucky 0510. Thank you for your time, efforts, dedication.
When you
I
lay your
love
head
this
on that
time
pillow
with
at
you.
night.
Hey, I appreciate your support.
Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
Absolute love to the chat. We have an Englishman here watching from Portugal. Richard, appreciate you. What's your favorite football club? We got to discuss it on here, Richard. Either way, I can get in the chat all day. What I need to start doing is dedicate maybe the last 15 minutes just going through the chat, talking to people who are here, engaging, going from there. I love each and every single one of y'all. Thank you. Let's see if did we get to 9,100? Let me see if we hit the goal. We hit 9,100. Hold on. Oh, 9118. Listen. Thank y'all. Y'all have a great day. Be safe out there. All right. I'm out.